Good evening. My name is Gav Blacksburg. I am the host of Wolf Financial Live. And joining us today are two guests from pretty much our most watched live stream ever, which is with Aduro Clean Tech. So you have Ofer, the CEO, Eric, the CRO of the firms, joining us for another conversation. There's been a ton of news and a lot of movement in the stock as well since we last discussed. And I think people are very hungry to get to understand all of these latest updates that are happening. So real quick, just for those that weren't here last time to hear, Ofer, can you give us a brief 30-second background on yourself?
Thank you, Gav. Hi, good afternoon and good morning to everyone. My name is Ofer. I'm the CEO, the co-founder. Been with the company since early birth.
Beautiful. Eric, please.
Okay, you leave me a few seconds. Eric Appman calling to you from the Netherlands. It's already dark and windy over here. I am the CEO of the company for just 2 years, which is just nothing compared to Ofer with his 12 years. Here I am.
Couple of veterans of the industry at large. All right, Ofer, since you and the team were last on Wolf Financial, what are the key developments at Aduro that you really want investors to know about and understand?
So, Gav, I think we want to focus maybe on talking about the things that we have achieved so far that will take us going forward. And so in the last few months, we've been working day and night to close some projects and open others that are, coming at us. And this is based on our, promise to investors. So we were promised to commission our pilot unit, which is now, as we speak, is being commissioned right now. We promised to complete our design of our future demonstration unit, and that is coming as well to be finished. And we even said some things that are related to, site development and finding a site that will host our future demonstration unit. So all of those items are coming now to an end, which effectively means that we are positioned the company in a great situation or a great position towards 2026.
Very nice. Very nice. So I want to go a little bit further into this. But first, Eric, I'll come over to you. Anything else you'd like to add on to what Ofer just mentioned in regards to what's been accomplished so far?
Well, what I would find very worthwhile to talk about is that we had a product that we made tested by honest professional steam cracker. And to understand what we're doing, we're turning plastic into some kind of an oil. And if you want to bring that back to new plastics, you have to enter the kingdom of the chemical industry through the portal of the steam cracker, because that is where all the building blocks are made. It is a very picky machine. It costs you easily a couple of billions. And the quality of your product has to be really good. Now, without saying with whom we did this work, it is actually an authority that is very, very, very high in the ranking of steam cracker experts. They took our material and they said, well, not only does it crack all right, we actually believe that your product is able to be digested by a steam cracker as such, which is our key value proposition, because it saves you a big amount of money in after treatment. And it is wonderful to see that that has been accepted. The other thing that I do like, it is a recent piece of news. What is becoming important also is your access to raw materials, and also to try to get the raw materials in just the right shape and not over clean it. Just last week, we signed an agreement with an association of leading Mexican consumer goods manufacturers operating under the EPR scheme, who are basically responsible for finding a good home for their own waste. And we are going to work with them, and it will be a representative for many parts in the world, but they are going to say, can you please help us find a good home for the lower quality end of our wastes? Now, very significant, also a huge sign of trust.
Yeah, it's also, Gav, on that end, and just to echo what Eric mentioned. So now we will be working in Mexico as well. So not just Europe, but also Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with y'all, and I want to talk more about Mexico here. I think that it's incredibly significant what's happening.
Yes.
I even was getting DMs to myself.
Is it? Yeah.
People were messaging me, and they were like, they're like, do you think this happens by accident? They're like, this doesn't happen by accident. The government is seeing this and realizing in real time where this is going. So this is a huge collaboration, right? The ECOC with Mexico. Eric, can you give a little bit more color to the depths of what this means, the validity that it adds, the obviously potential revenue streams down the line, things along those lines?
Yeah, well, we are talking about a collaboration under the EPR scheme, Extended Producer Responsibility. Any company that puts plastic in the market to wrap around its shampoo or around its cheese or whatever else, in almost every country in the world, is now going to be paying some fee to allow for the collection, for the sorting, and finding a good home. It takes a little bit of a different shape in different countries, but for instance, in Canada, where we are based, it is progressing quite rapidly. In Europe, it's already common sense. Especially in Mexico, it's interesting to see that those companies, and these are the Nestle's and the Unilevers, and all these companies are a member, they spend an absolute fortune paying for all that collection, and they do want to make sure that that stuff ends something, and that they may actually recollect some of that money. So they are looking at their plastics. They have found some good solutions for the easy ones, and now they come to us to deal with the more difficult ones. And that is very significant because Mexico is a huge country, many more employees than we have in, inhabitants as we have in Canada, and actually probably coming close to half of what we have in Europe. So big markets.
Yeah,
and worth saying, Gav, this is a hardworking projects by our country manager Humberto, who has been there for the last, is it 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, before me. So yeah, you've been around.
Yeah, and so he's working with Eric hands to hands on this. So kudos for him, for Eric, for the whole team that actually brought it into it. And now we are, again, positioning ourselves again to a good starting point for 2026.
So both the upstream, the pilot plant, the demo plant, but also the downstream, the customers that are going to help us, and the feedstock, and it is a multidisciplinary exercise. Very exciting, but not easy.
What's the feedback that you've been receiving from investors, Ofer, when they learned about this? Have you had a chance to discuss with them?
So unfortunately, I've been traveling so much right now. So it's we've been all over the place trying to grab those projects and finish them before the end of the year, so we could be free and ready to capture the next year. I get to see a little bit of the questions that are coming at us. How real it is, what will happen, what would you do with that? As usual, normally we are accepting with a very warm, I'll say, arms and welcomes, and this is, I think, based on the I guess long behavior or trying to be transparent as much as we can. On one side, we said that this is an R&D, never been done before. The other side will say everything that we'll try to complete in a year, and then we're actually working to do it. So far, it's been quite exciting, and you can see that the company is building, in levels. We're building our progress step by step by step by step. Every step is a different and adds significant value to the company. So we're very, very happy with it. Yet to be seen how 2026, but it looks like quite exciting for us.
Does accomplishing this help you lead to deeper partnerships and other partnerships?
Without a doubt, with every closing of a reputable organization that is coming in and looking at what we've been doing, it adds more value to the company's name, to how the company is operating, and how it's you conduct business. We should remember that we are in a dynamic market, that things are bubbling everywhere around us. Whatever we know today may not be there in 2 days or 3 days. We can't rely on everything that it will stay the same. This is a market that is actually defining themselves as we speak. I think what we're doing on one hand is to make sure that we're making progress, on the other hand, to make sure that we are mitigating our risk. And so that is what we can promise to investors. This is what we're doing day in and day out. In every step that we're taking, when we're taking commitment like that, we are basically trusting ourselves to show the performance, and then we have to leave the customer to decide. And then we do it again and again and again in different multiple areas. And at some point, some of them will stick, and some of them will say, well, thank you very much. And, we'll keep on growing with the guys who want to grow with us.
If I can add something, and this is something that I learned from Ofer, you must make sure you're master of your own destination. So just take the bull by the horns, as we say it. We had signed this wonderful agreement in Mexico. The next day, I was up till my ankles in waste in 2 waste sorting plants, because we have to make it work ourselves. That is just very important. Do it yourselves. Don't wait for others to do it. Don't wait for big companies to come and help you. You basically have to do it yourself. And actually, that's the fun of it. So.
And we actually said, Gabe, to investors, basically, that we like to be hugged by other organizations, but we don't want too much hugging, if you know what I mean. And that also gives you a little bit of leeway, but also helps you to move, as you see, in such a dynamic market that just boiling around us all day long.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And I want to make sure that retail can understand this as best as possible, because there's different concepts here. The overarching concept, I think, is straightforward, right? You have plastics and other waste, right, that need to be turned into this renewable cycle. And right now, that renewable cycle can be decently extensive, right? There's a variety of treatments, breakdowns, chemicals that have been required. And you've really fixed that process, right? And so you've been able to go ahead and proven by the steam cracking, right, recently on some of these different pieces, and shown, hey, we don't have to have all these extensive processes. We've built a system that allows you to turn literally this trash to cash, right? These energy, these oils, different pieces along those lines, simply. When it comes to the different partnerships that are in place, how should people think about those? Is this, when it comes to Mexico, saying basically, hey, like, we now have a pipeline when it comes to Mexico for these items? Like, how do you break it down in just, simple English to people that are not in this industry?
So I'll start a little bit with the background of what you're saying. So we are part of a large scale development of solutions, just to say that. But we have it's a much needed in the market, which right now, at the point that we are, there is a little bit of realization of what will work and what is challenging and what has a potential to work. I think we are on the area of the potential to work. So that's that. And there's no shortage of feedstock available. It's just the matter of how do you build your economics? So that this is the one side of it. So we definitely show and prove that technology at that point is actually worthy of the next scale. And now we're working on the commercialization aspect of it, moving along and just building it to another level. So we had the pilot, and we're working on what we call the demonstration, which is a unit that we expect to do something like 10,000 tons. And if everything will work, we expect to double it. And so we are looking forward to build what we call a commercial. What we're doing in Mexico is the foundation of the same baseline, approaching those organizations that are looking for unique solution. The same organization that we hadn't had a chance to speak about it, but the same organization that we've been talking, we are the second solution that they've been chosen in, I think, in the 4 or 5 years. Like, it's quite unique. They've been looking around for many years for different solutions. And now they landed on us after a significant investigation. And so right now, what it means is that we will work with them directly first to show and demonstrate the operation. But remember, they are funded by different organizations. So that gives Aduro an opportunity to reach out and access directly to organization at need. So we do not know how to count it right now. It's a little bit premature. Very, very exciting.
And maybe to give a bit of systematics to these partnerships, we are in the middle of a couple of things. We have the upstream, the waste scene. Well, the Mexican collaboration is about dealing with the local waste. This is one that we publicize. Not all we can publicize. We have more than that. We have things going on in other parts. We're in Canada and in Europe as well. When I'm talking about a steam cracker, I'm talking to the customer side, the people that set the criteria. And also there we have a set of collaborations, and not all of them are publicized. And then in the middle sits our own process. And that is where we also work with parties that are specialized. You have seen that we are working with this company, Zeton, engineering company from Canada. We're working with Siemens, a well-known company from Germany. And we build our partnerships along that chain that we have to do. So there is a plan behind it. We do not take it at random. There is also much more than meets the eye here, because there is multiple things, but we are not talking about everything in public, but I think we have a nice sample of what we can do.
Listen, we'll take what we can get, you know, and as you are able to share more publicly, we'll definitely take that as well. And you know, as this came out, you were able to post it onto social. Obviously, strong, you know, engagement there. Investors
Yeah.
really interested in these different things. Ofer, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, it's all about positioning the company. It's all about making sure the company is ready to our next level. So we have, as Eric says, the customers around it. We're building this machine. We're just closing those agreements in just to get us going to 2026. So this is where we are right now, and that's what kind of I wanted to echo on what Eric is mentioning. Just multiple of activities that each one of them has a certain value, but combined together at the end of the day, they give you kind of a perspective and a vision where the company could be if we're doing our work, in a proper way.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Eric, I want to roll into the next topic here and flip this back at you. If we zoom out to the global plastic waste problem, where do you see the biggest gaps in today's waste management systems, and specifically, where does Aduro's hydrochemolytic technology have the most leverage to create value?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And let me start a little bit holistic as well. And I think I told it last time. Mankind makes its own weight in new plastics every year,
Yeah.
which means that we are also throwing away our own weight in plastic every year, and it has to go somewhere.
Right.
I think what we have learned to do reasonably well, we can in principle collect it. We can also sort and clean it a little bit. And then the obvious way is that you just remelt your plastic and cast it in something new. That is an industry that is relatively mature, but it is also limited. It can only deal with plastics that are pretty pure. And what you have to know, and you cannot see it when you throw away plastics, but almost every plastic bag is a different grade of plastics. And if you mess that all together, you basically get a very terrible compromise. So there is only a little bit that can undergo this seemingly attractive mechanical recycling. And then comes chemical. And there are chemical methods, but they do suffer. They require heat. You lose a lot of material on the way. And for me, the fundamental problem that within that whole recycling, we do not create enough value.
Okay.
So the existing chemical and the existing mechanical recycling tackle only like 40%, maybe 30, 40%. The rest has to go to landfill and incineration anyway, does not create any value. And that is why companies are going bankrupt. And it is made even worse because, as you probably know, virgin plastics are so cheap. And that is not a thing that will go away, by the way. The overcapacity in the world is massive, and there's going to be a lot more. So the challenge to us is that we do not stick to good thinking, but that we truly become competitive. And that is where the system fails at this moment. And that is precisely where Aduro is going to fill the gap. Because as I told 10 minutes ago, what you do with our process is deliver a product that does not require that extensive after cleaning and that expensive that you have there. It does allow you to take the lower quality of feedstocks that nobody else can really handle. And then it gives you a very high yield of good product. So it is on, and then we do that in an installation that is legoed from standard equipment that you can buy off the shelf. And that is easy to scale, and probably you will quickly see some cost advantages there. And all these four fronts, we help to make these more competitive. Because in the end of the day, recycling is a good thing, but you cannot pay with good intentions. You have to pay with competitiveness, and that is what we are doing.
I like the educational piece of there, kind of explaining to people like, hey, like you can take plastic right now, you can melt it down, you can turn it into new plastic, but it's far more complex than that, right? You've got all these different types of plastic floating around out there. You're just turning it back into more plastic, right? You're not creating, oils, energy, other pieces like that, right? So there's so much more that could be done with this system, and so people have kind of accepted a system because there's a necessity for a system, but it's not the best system possible.
It's not there. And let's face it, the chemical industry, the whole petroleum-based industry, it has taken them 100 years to arrive where they are now with giant factories, super efficient. It's not easy. It's a fantastic industry. It was what I was educated for. But we will have to go to a similar learning curve, but preferably a little bit quicker.
Is
A
it
little bit quicker than 100 years, yeah.
Yes.
is it fair to say, Elon Musk often talks now about the age of abundance, right? Especially brought on by the advent of AI and how, people are going to have more than they've ever had. And transparently, I order more off Amazon than I've ever ordered. And so I'm curious if you think that you talked about how much waste is created each year. Is that number escalating?
Yes, and it very interestingly and actually propelled by nations that seek a destination for the oil in times of change on the engine front. Elon Musk himself is reinventing the fuel scene, which is taking the largest part of every mineral oil. So there is an enormous push to let us use more plastic. And is that bad? No. Plastic is a great material. It's lightweight. It has fantastic properties. The only thing is, you have to do with the end of life. Now, that is what we have to do. So the amount of plastics is expected to triple by 2050. So by then we have 1.2 billion tons every year that you have to find a home for. And so, no, we are not going to be suffering from a lack of plastic. It might be difficult plastic. We still need a good method. But as such, our work is charted out. And we know what we have to do.
And yeah, Ofer?
Yeah, I just demand by society is always growing, right? As much as you try to mitigate it, there's a rationale behind it. Consumers are consumers, just like you said, we're buying, and developing countries are progressing. We try to be on that side that look for those solutions. But I think, fair to say, I won't say inevitable, but that's how things are going on right now. And I don't know, you can arguably safely say that Eric is right, and things will grow. Demand for plastic will grow over the years.
I've seen people that expect that the share of recycled plastics will be increasing and increasing. That is, of course, what we happily will make possible.
But there is something that I do want to put the audience attention to. Organization that the reason this is a dynamic market. Part of the reason this is a dynamic market is because organization being aware to what's going on are also working internally to try and find better solutions. Plastic that at the end of the day will disassembled and could be just maybe absorbed and things of such. So the industry is trying to improve the situation as well. So it's not just about the front of companies like us that are dealing with the current situation and how far you could see it. It's also that there is a lot of scientific work in the background by large organization and small organization to create new product that actually may be easier. So that is when we're talking about dynamic market. This is part. It's not just one item or the other. It's the whole thing. The whole scene is bubbling and working and trying to find and invent itself, which is what we've seen right now all around us.
Got it. That makes sense. I think also, one of the things that's nice about your business model, I want to talk about moat here for a second, is that, there is that never ending supply, right? Of the raw material, right? So you don't have any concerns on supply, and the supply is just going to continue to crank up. So what are the constraints that you would say to your business? Like, what are the things that as you break through and you get more of this, it allows you to really scale?
Well,
go ahead, Eric. You want to say something?
Yeah, shall I do? Yeah, well,
yeah, for sure. Go for
it. I think there is a big constraint at the moment, and that is, as I said, virgin plastics are extremely cheap. And you may argue that it is partially because they do not pay the price for their emissions and everything else. And one reason that how you could play that back is to actually demand that there is going to be recycled content. And at this moment in time, it is like with any new industry, even Elon Musk needed some subsidies to let the electric car being picked up by the market. You need to scale. For that reason, it will be most helpful that a market is created by demanding that recycled plastics are used now. That is the most important thing. It should not be there forever, but you do have to have a mechanism to allow this new technology enter and complete its learning curve. And better be quick, but you are not able on day one to compete with an industry that has invented itself over the past 100 years and has done a brilliant job at it. So that is probably what I see as the most important constraint. That we make sure that we get a time to go through that learning curve. That is why in some parts of the world you see very supportive mechanism. That is also why that collection scheme is there. That is, I think, if you had to ask me anything, that is the most important thing right now.
So two quick questions then with on that. One, it's hard to tell if they're going to put into place mandates around recycling. It's obviously something that has been tried, but hasn't necessarily been super successful. And then two, I understand that the plastic's extremely cheap, but what about the oils, right, and these other items that are being created? So I'm kind of curious just on those two sides. Like, one, if the governments don't put into place mandates, what is the route then to continuing to accelerate? And then two, is it that big of a problem that there's cheap plastics when really you're kind of solving other issues here as well?
Yeah, I'm not sure
should
whether
I?
I
Okay,
understand.
well, I
Yeah,
guess maybe the first one, like, let's say the government doesn't create mandates, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is the
So
alternative there?
let me try and give it a go, and then Eric maybe can contemplate. So if the government doesn't interfere at all, then that means that society really is not motivated to do recycling, basically. And if that's the case, then you can turn it into a fuel, and that's what we're doing as well. We could do that if we needed, and it costs nothing, and you run it for fuel. I'm not sure about right now. We should speak about the economics of it, but if that will be the case, there'll be no circularity, and just plastic will be just end up to be part of your engine, one way or the other. It's not something I think that society is actually looking at right now. All around us, around the globe, society is interested to make sure that this thing is not enter in the environment, our body, the fishes, the whole thing. It's a big item. And so society is creating a mandate all over the place. It takes its time, and society has been doing it all over, with previous products, ethanol, for example, and others has been one way or the other has been all around that. So that's one part of it. Aduro specifically, if you remember, Aduro is basically a platform chemical technology. The word platform actually comes in here, and so Aduro has other applications. The plastic application basically caught everyone, including us, a little bit by surprise as we entered this market. It was, of a high interest. We didn't anticipate how aggressive the market was when we came into it. But the fact is that Aduro has capabilities to move and shift to other application as well. And so the concept of mitigating risk, of course, can't mitigate everything forever. But there is more leeway to the company to change and divert should we need it to. So what's our promise? I mean, we need to create shareholders value, right? That's kind of the idea. Right now, plastic recycling is an item that we are 100% supporting and moving forward around it, but we have built I'll say a list of other applications that we are working in the background. One of them was the heavy oil application, and so there is a work there that will be done to mitigate those risks. So what we are trying to create is a situation where we're moving the company forward. And again, the concept basically is just increasing shareholders' value. Really, it will be plastic, it will be renewable, it will be oil. We'll just pick those one by one and move them forward.
Got it.
And maybe just a very short addendum. As a matter of fact, the drivers for our industry are large, and I can make it very simple. The world is probably pretty unified that it is not a great idea if we toss our plastics in the rivers and out of the. So I think everybody would like to get away from it. And it is actually illustrated by the fact that these extended producer schemes, they even exist in places like Mexico, the Philippines, and Bangladesh. So
You'll be
this is not
surprised.
something like, this is not the privilege of the rich and wealthy. So that's one.
Yeah.
Then you can say, okay, let's do landfill. I'm living in a relatively small country with a lot of people. And if you want to build a new landfill, you're always in someone's backyard.
Yeah.
And I think that is actually pretty much a picture that we see also everywhere in the world. Nobody wants to live behind a landfill. It will essentially be priced out. Now, then we can talk about burning it. Well, it works fine. Then you use your carbon twice, first as a plastic and then as fuel. And there is obviously, in my little country, half of us are below sea level. We do not really like global warming. So that is also why we probably would like to do something about it as well. And then you're actually right where we are. And these drivers are powerful because the alternatives are not very nice.
Do you think that, because when you lay it out like that, it all makes sense, right? It's super easy to grasp. You're like, yeah, I don't want to live next to a landfill or be underwater. Do you think it's just like for a lot of people, it doesn't affect them personally, so they don't think about it as much, but the ones that, have this higher scope are like, wow, this is truly the future and are really attracted to the stock and the company?
To our stock or to the stock in general?
To yours, and to the company, I would say, because they actually grasp the mission, even though it's not, personally affecting them living next to landfill.
Can I say something, Eric, about that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I really hope the people that are looking at our stocks and attracting to the stock have done their due diligence, and if they've looked at what they're doing and what we're doing, that means that we are building some positions to the company in a fairly aggressive manner. Every year we're trying to achieve some things that are basically either create mitigation, make us do some progress. So people that are looking at the company, I don't know if maybe I hope they care about waste plastic in a way, but I'm hoping also they kind of understand, and you mentioned the moat. So this is a phenomenon discovered only recently. This is a phenomenon not been utilized until we came into the market. And this is a phenomenon who has a significant addressable market, literally areas where to grow. And so investors, and we've in 2025 promised investors a set of items that will position us to make sure that we're moving ahead in 2026. So I truly hope the investors are looking at it. Yes, 100% if they care about circularity or care about plastic or the environment. Absolutely. Each one of us goes to the beach, maybe surf, maybe go back and wants to see a lot of it come back, maybe in a new product rather than just waste and feed the fishes. But overall, in the terms of in the very, very hard work of increasing value of shareholders,
Right.
This is what we are. This is what we're trying to do day in and day out. In our current position and situation, it's about commercializing our waste application, chemical recycling application at this point of time.
I mean, there's a lot of people with big audiences that are talking about this. I like this post that I saw from the long investor the other day.
Okay.
When Aduro was up 14%. This was a day where the market was pretty red. And he was, talking, he said, moat goats, the greatest of all time. Putting you next to ASTS inside of here, right? And really just focusing on it. Hey, like there's a strong moat here, and that allows this company to have outperformance even on days where the market isn't as a whole continuing to move up. How do you continue to, I obviously there's a moat from what you addressed right there, right? Like this technology, literally people were not doing this, right? Like we're the ones doing this, we're pioneering it, and that creates a moat. How do you continue to strengthen and buff out that moat?
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Shall I take it? Yeah. I think the fundamentals are strong of the invention, but that is typically where the real work starts. I've done many innovation projects in different companies, and surprising as it may seem, the time until invention is not the most difficult one. You have to be lucky and bump in that, and you have to be clever, but then the real struggle starts. Because you typically have to push it through a number of chains in the value chain. You will find unexpected things. And I think the execution of that maybe more tedious pathway is a very important one. next to the fact, but that is also what I said before, in the end of the day, it must be something that can financially work. You cannot pay with good intentions. Coming back a little bit, you have these, of course, landfill is not nice, throwing it away is not nice, burning is not nice. But then if the alternative still costs you a ton of money, it's not going to work. So it has to work. And you do have to put in an enormous amount of attention to the execution, to the delivery of the goods. And I think that is, we are in the middle of that. And we will have to do a lot more than that. And I just hope that our investors see that that is what we do.
Yeah, I think that that's what a lot of people should continue to look into. I've put out, we had our last conversation. I encourage people to watch if they haven't already on Twitter. It was a really good conversation. We talked a lot in there about the steam cracking and some of the other pieces that happened here and just some of the discoveries. You guys have done a great job as well on your X account and other social medias to share out the regular updates. You have people like Mariusz and others, who have made a ton of video and content about this. So I think that people, if they want to find it, they have the ability to really educate themselves on this. And I encourage those, that are here, you could go take a look at the ticker ADUR. You can also obviously go research the management team and really get a feel for everything that's happening here. So as we wrap up 2025, Ofer, how would you characterize this year for Aduro? And what are the main things investors should look for in 2026?
This is a year of transformation. And I say that in the modest way. I mean, before, I think we were dealing a lot with the technology development, and now we're dealing with the commercialization aspect of it. So we've been preparing ourselves to this moment by means of preparing the pilot, by means of understanding, stretching the chemistries within the pilot to understand where we can go, by means of preparing sites to make sure that we have a continuation where we could grow, by means of already working on the future machines that we're thinking about. And so for us, 2025 is that year of transformation where we position the company to be moving on the commercialization path, and a significant one of a significant step. I don't take lightly. We haven't spoke a little bit, enough about customers that we are working day in and day out to bring in and show them and demonstrate them. Working, Eric has been all over the place in demonstrating the technology and making speech and making sure that people knows, and we definitely created a name to ourselves on that end. But we also we expect, for example, in 2026 to start pushing in the environmental impact that we're assessing that it will contribute as well. We haven't talked about the environmental impact because the pilot is not working yet. When the pilot will be working, we've been honest with investors and tell investors we will bring forward the numbers as the pilot will transform, but not on a technology demonstration, but on a pilot that you could scale up and envision commercial systems. So I think the environmental side of it will come in. Beyond that, 2026, a new year with significant multiple projects that we will first and foremost will focus about running significant campaigns to adjust and optimize our pilot to make sure that we know what is it we're doing, generating data to show our partners that this is actually could scale up, moving on and building the economic landscape of it, and then making sure that we can vent all of that into our demonstration unit. So very complex activity, as you can appreciate, Gabe, but really with lots of exciting. For us, 2026 is we're finishing strong 2025, but team will go home and hopefully get some rest finally and maybe an hour of sleep. Well, we aim to start 2026 on a very, very strong right foot.
I like the approach. I think that it's very honest and a mensch, to not, look at the non-pilot areas and say, oh, we're gonna estimate off that, right? But instead waiting until you have the pilot up and running and then giving investors a very honest answer on these items. So I think that people appreciate that. And then outside of that, I agree. I'm excited for 2026. I think there's a lot of big things that are going to happen, a lot of transformation here, even in the last month. I would say that just, huge partnerships. I can testify to people that I see how hard the team's working, week in and week out. I've been able to be privy to that, so I can testify to that as well. Eric, from the commercial side, are there any final thoughts that you'd like to leave with investors and potential partners?
No, I can only offer the mirror image of Over's scaling process. Scaling also means securing your product quality, securing your raw materials, securing your customers. Next to securing your process, that is what we have to. We have to grow up. We have to go from adolescents, wild and enthusiastic, to become adults who actually have on the shelf what it takes. That is what we have to do. So, if you having a demonstration plant, the thing is too big to just junk the product. You will have to find somebody that's going to buy it and pay enough for it so that you cover your cost, because it is an expensive machine. You have to find the raw material that's good enough. You
Right.
have to tune your conditions. You have to, by the way, make sure that everything is safe, that it is efficient, that it is affordable. So this is maybe well described as the year of growing up.
I like that. The year of growing up. I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited for 2026 and what it's going to hold. For those that look back, obviously there were some huge moments for you in 2025,
Yes.
particularly as
Yes.
well for investors, right, who were able to really see like a full year here, right, of being listed, uplisted, right, for many,
Oh
and
yeah,
being able to
yeah,
Oh yeah.
participate, right? So
More
many other
detail.
people were able to
yeah.
participate in retail, and obviously stocks up over 100%. In the last 52 weeks. So that was pretty cool as well. So I think now you can truly begin to flesh out that story, right? Having a year under your
Yeah.
belt in these areas, having the partnerships, it gets me excited.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's a
Thank you.
kudo for our CFO as well. Now that you
Yeah.
mentioned that,
Likewise. Yeah.
I mean,
We're
very
all
very
as
hardworking
excited.
guy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd give them a big kudos. As we're just moving to wrap up here, I encourage everybody to continue your due diligence process. You can go to
Yes.
the Aduro account on X is a great place to go ahead and check out for regular updates. It's at Aduro Clean Tech. You can go to adurocleantech.com where you can see so much more information for investors, for details. There's, of course, a mailing list as well that people can sign up for too. So you just have all these different pieces. Of course, when it comes to these shows, on all the different items that we do on these, right? These are conversations. These are not, these are for informational purposes only. I don't make endorsements or recommendations of any specific stocks or investment strategies. Investing in stocks involves risk, including, of course, the potential of losing your principal. So please conduct thorough due diligence before investing in anything. I love working together with Aduro. Clearly, I'm passionate about what they're doing. And I hope that everyone, sees that passion and takes it and begins your due diligence process. And if you feel the need to, of course, consult a licensed financial advisor. With that being said, that's going to do it for this one. We're right here at the top of the hour. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Ofer, Eric, wonderful guests as always, coming with a lot of knowledge, getting me excited about this industry. And of course, to be honest, you're really changing the world for my generation for the long term. So thank you for that.
Appreciate
My
that,
pleasure.
Ken. Thank you very
My
much.
honor.
Thank you,
Thank you so
gentlemen.
much.
Thank you to
Thanks
everyone
for the
watching.
audience.